What's up, everybody? Professional wrestler Chris Wild back with another video on Eagles news now. Now, I want to try to make this video as positive as I can without doing a lot of bitching, but I'm going to do the bitching, and it starts now. You really wonder when you see some of the things that are put out in social media how certain sports analysts get their jobs, and this top 10 coaching list by CBS Sports HQ's Shawn Mcveight just has me scratching my head all over the place. And before I actually get into this top 10, let me tell you the reason why this is put out. Sports is extremely slow right now with no active sports being played. So when you need some clicks, when you need some views, what do? You come after the most passionate and strong fan base that there is in sports, and that's Eagle fans. They do it all the time where they talk about us booing Santa Claus, throwing snowballs at Santa from 30 years ago, or just coming off with some absolutely ridiculous lists like this top 10. Obviously, they're coming after our coach, Doug Pederson, and I want to talk about it, guys. And look, I can make a lot of arguments on this list of guys that Doug Pederson is higher than. However, more specifically, I want to get into Doug Pederson versus Shawn Mcveigh. I felt some kind of way about this since 2017 when Mcveigh got Coach of the Year over Peterson. I understand that was voted before the playoffs in the Super Bowl. However, Doug Pederson went into LA and beat Shawn Mcveigh that year with his backup at the end of the game. That was a big game for both teams at that time. The Eagles clinch the East, and they lose Carson Wentz in the same game. Dougie still wins the game. But let's look at this list, guys. I got Doug Pederson at number 9. So number 1, this is a no-brainer, Bill Belichick. Even through all the cheating and scandals, he's still the number 1 coach. I still believe that. Number 2 is Andy Reid. You can't complain there with everything that Andy has done. 3, John Harbaugh. I can make a lot of arguments. They have him as 3. 4, Sean Payton. I feel like Sean Payton's one of the most overrated coaches in the league. Won a Super Bowl, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Number 5 is Kyle Shanahan. What the hell has Kyle Shanahan done to get to number 5? Yeah, he got to the Super Bowl last year with the 49ers, but he absolutely blew it. And the time he was in the Super Bowl before that with the Atlanta Falcons as offensive coordinator, they absolutely blew that game too. I don't understand Kyle Shanahan being number 5, and I'll bring him up a little bit later as well. Number 6 is Sean Mcveigh. Again, another head scratcher. Number 7 is Mike Tomlin. I think he's a good coach. I'd put him above Shanahan and Mcveigh both. Pete Carroll, I think, is being disrespected at number 8. I mean, Pete Carroll has had an amazing coaching career. I'd put him ahead of a lot of these guys. I'd put him ahead of John Harbaugh at 3, to be honest with you. And that's not just because Pete Carroll's Seahawks kick the shit out of my Eagles every time we play, seemingly. Number 9 is our head coach, Doug Pederson. Number 10 is Mike Zimmer, who I don't even think should be on the list at all. But let's talk about Peterson versus Mcveigh. Why Mcveigh is considered a better coach than Doug Pederson, I have no idea. Eagle fans went after this guy, Wagner McGaw, on social media, and his retort to everything Eagle fans were saying is that Mcveigh has a better winning percentage than all the rest of the coaches at .688. But my thing is, if you're using that, then why is Kyle Shanahan with a winning percentage at .479 ahead of Mcveigh at 5? It just doesn't, and Doug for that matter. Doug's got a .600 if you're including the playoffs. Why is Kyle Shanahan ahead? So your retort is absolutely unfounded and ridiculous as far as that goes. But let's talk about some of the reasons why Doug Pederson is 100% better than Sean Mcveigh. First off, let's go to the Super Bowl. I know rings don't mean everything, but they're kind of a big deal. Doug Pederson has a Super Bowl ring. Kyle Shanahan doesn't, and neither does Sean Mcveigh. He's ringless. Let's go to the Super Bowls that their teams played in. Doug Pederson scored 41 points against the New England Patriots with a backup quarterback. We'll talk about the injuries later. Let's just say backup quarterback for now. Mcveigh, with his full team, scores only 3 points the following year in the most boring and low-scoring Super Bowl in the history of the NFL. Offense got absolutely outcoached by Bill Belichick when Doug Pederson scored 41 points with a backup and one of the best plays in Super Bowl history being the Philly special. So let's put that out there. Doug Pederson's 2-0 against Sean Mcveigh. I know you can't go completely about that, but he is. And in 2018, the Eagles, when they played the Rams, were 13-point underdogs. Nick Foles comes in off the bench and destroys the Rams in that game. Defense played a big part in that as well. Doug Pederson's been in 3 straight playoff appearances. Now, I want to talk about the injuries that Doug Pederson has had to put up with. No other coach in the past 4 or 5 seasons has had to put up with the injuries that Doug Pederson has had to. You lose your franchise quarterback the year you win the Super Bowl. Not only that, but you Hall of Fame left tackle, running backs, wide receivers, cornerbacks. 2018, you're bringing in guys off the street, literally off the street, that were working in Walmart the week before to play on your secondary. Last year, look, both teams were 9-7, the Rams and the Eagles. However, Shawn Mcveigh and the Rams give up a couple of first-round picks for Jalen Ramsey. You've got Aaron Donald, one of the best, if not the best, defensive player in the entire league on your team. Todd Gurley had a good year with almost 900 yards. Your offense, is your offense, which was putting up points galore. And yet you still missed the playoffs when Doug Pederson has practice squad players on his team again. You're missing running backs. You're missing wide receivers off the street coming in. Your right tackle goes out. Your right guard goes out. I mean, Doug Pederson does the best with nothing. And yes, they beat a bunch of bad teams to win 4 in a row to get into the playoffs, but they also beat the Dallas Cowboys, who absolutely annihilated Sean McVay's Los Angeles Rams the week before. So yeah, why Sean McVay, just this alone, why Sean McVay is not just ahead of Doug Pederson, but 3 spots ahead of Doug Pederson and ahead of Pete Carroll even, is insane to me. Like, I don't understand it. It's why I'm getting so upset about it, I don't know. This is exactly what Wagner McGall wanted, is us to get this triggered, but it's just ridiculous. Doug Pederson, I believe, look, man, call me silly, call me stupid. I'd put Doug Pederson at number 3 behind Belichick and Andy Reid. I absolutely would. Like I said, Sean Payton to me is overrated. John Harbaugh is and Kyle Shanahan, I mean, again, this guy blows every big opportunity he has, it seems like. I do like Mike Tomlin, but he hasn't done... I mean, this is a guy that had Antonio Brown, Ben in his prime, and Le'Veon Bell on an offense, as well as Juju Smith-Schuster, and didn't do anything. So with that, it's just hard for me to pick Tomlin over Dougie even at this point. But yeah, Doug Pederson to me, absolutely the most, if there's a top 10 for most disrespected coaches in the NFL, Doug Pederson is number 1 on that list all day. Again, what he does with what he has to work with is just unbelievable. And that's my head coach, and I'll take him over Sean McVay and all these other dudes, except for probably Bill Belichick. And, it took Andy Reid 15 years to get that Super Bowl win, guys. I mean, let's not forget, Doug Pederson was in his second year when he won the Super Bowl. A couple videos ago, I did a video on the 2016 Eagles when they began that season and how atrocious that roster was for just the next year, the Eagles to be in the Super Bowl and winning against not some like throwaway team, not a Raider team or a Tampa Bay team. They beat the New England Patriots and Tom Brady in the Super Bowl with a backup quarterback. And I love Nick Foles, but he hasn't done much anywhere else. Definitely hasn't done much since that year. And look, if Alshon Jeffrey doesn't let a pass go right through his hands the next year, who knows what Doug Pederson does in the playoffs that year. Not only that... I could go on. This could end up being my longest video ever if I keep talking about Doug. But let's not forget that they went into Chicago against one of the best defenses, if not the best defense we've seen in the last 4 years, with a backup quarterback, a backup running back, and not much at wide receiver, and won that game in the playoffs. That, and again, double doink, yes, the kicker missed the field goal at the end, but just to even still be in that position, I think is big time for Doug Pederson. So Doug Pederson, the Crusher Peterson, Big Balls Peterson, as I call him, he's my head coach, and he is above a lot of these guys. Definitely Sean McVay, who just, to me, hasn't done anything and could end up being a flash in the pan. All right, guys, that's it for my rant on Doug Pederson and this list by CBS Sports HQ. Let them have it on Twitter. Thanks to all the new subscribers and old subscribers, as always. Stay safe, stay healthy out there, guys. Wear your mask if you have to, because if football something happens to football because of this mask stuff, I will go absolutely crazy. I will go nuts, and I'll film it here on Eagles News Now. So, Go Birds as always. I'll see you guys later.
E-A-G-L-E-S Eagles! E-A-G-L-E-S Eagles!
I need Eagle Nation to stand